Level 1. Analyst. It is 8:30 in the morning. You sit down at your desk and there are already 23 unread emails. The first one is from the associate. The subject line says, "For your review." The attachment is a model you built yesterday. He has left 14 comments. One of them says, "Redo." Your job is the model. You build it, then rebuild it. You build the LBO, the DCF, the comps. You format the slides. When the associate leaves feedback at 11 p.m., you make the changes. You manage the data room. You chase the consultant for the diligence report he was supposed to send Tuesday. You are not making decisions. You are making the materials that let other people make decisions. Your coffee is cold before you finish reading the emails. The associate sits 30 feet away. You do not have a conversation with a vice president this week. When a managing director walks through the floor, you go quiet and sit up straight. You are earning less than the lawyers you email. The Blackstone name on your resume is worth more than anything else you will gain here, and most people in your seat will not be promoted. They will exit to a hedge fund in 2 years and call it a plan. At 11:45 p.m., you send the final draft. The associate replies 2 words, "Nicely done." You sit for another 15 minutes, making sure nothing breaks. Then you close the laptop. Level 2. Associate. You are in a conference room on a high floor. Across the table, the management team of a Midwestern manufacturing company is presenting their pitch. You are the one asking questions. That is new. Your job now requires judgment. You review the management deck, the sell-side reports, the operating metrics. You run expert calls with industry insiders to test the investment thesis before the firm spends real money. You draft the investment committee memo, the written argument for why Blackstone should write a billion-dollar check. The analysts below you execute your requests without question. You send the Slack message at 11 p.m. now. You are the one who writes, "For your review." The vice president reads everything you produce. He rewrites sections without explaining why. When a principal walks into the room mid-meeting, the conversation redirects toward him, and you find yourself taking notes again. The firm is watching you continuously. They do not tell you this. The hierarchy is formal and unforgiving, and promotion is not a reward for effort. It is a decision made by people several levels above you, based on criteria they will never fully explain. The VP's edits land on your screen just after midnight. 3 of your 4 paragraphs survived. You take that. Level 3. Senior Associate. You are a generalist now. You evaluate companies across sectors before anyone else has decided if they are worth evaluating. You come in at 9 a.m. and you make a list. You reprioritize the list by 10. You are reviewing a management presentation on a company the firm is quietly circling. You have not been told to move fast. You move fast anyway. Your work is to form a view, not just to execute a model, but to determine whether a business is worth owning. You speak on expert calls with industry professionals, looking for the one insight that changes the investment case. You build out the diligence tracker. You coordinate with analysts and associates across deal teams. You recruit junior talent now and interview candidates and ask the technical questions, because maintaining the culture is part of the job. VPs set your priorities. Principals decide whether your ideas move forward. You can run a meeting on your own and hold the room until a senior person calls in. Then the room reorganizes around them. The evaluation never stops, and it never announces itself. One bad read, one thesis that collapses in diligence, stays in the memory of people who will vote on your future. At 6 p.m., you share a diligence list with the broader team. Nobody pushes back. You infer that this means it was good. There is no other signal. Level 4. Vice President. You are on a negotiation call. The target company's board objects to the executive non-compete structure. There are 3 lawyers on your side of the call, 2 bankers, and you. You are the one talking. You manage deals from first look to signed agreement. You structure the terms. You coordinate the legal team, the banking advisors, the third-party consultants. You present deal status to the MDs and partners, and you defend your investment thesis when they push back. Last week, a principal asked you a question you could not answer in the room. You went home and built the answer. You came back the next morning and gave it. That is the job. When principals walk into a room, you stand. Analysts watch you to know how worried they should be. You are judged now on outcomes, not effort. Nobody remembers that the diligence was thorough. Nobody remembers the hours. If the deal loses money, the conversation stops there. The board agrees to speak again tomorrow. Nothing is resolved. The deal is still alive. You take that. The vice president who had this seat before, you left for a smaller fund after one bad year. You think about that sometimes on the drive home. Level 5. Principal. At 9 a.m., you are already on a call with a banker contact. It sounds like a conversation. It is not a conversation. You are listening for what is moving in the market before the pitch arrives in your inbox. You find deals now. You do not wait for them. You are a specialist. You know 1 or 2 sectors deeply enough that CEOs ask your opinion before they run a formal process. You manage the deal pipeline in a CRM tool. You lead negotiations that stall at the VP level. You sit across from skeptical management teams and spend an hour convincing them that private equity does not mean firing everyone on day 1. You do this over lunch. You order something you will not finish. MDs and SMDs control the investment committee. You can champion a deal for 6 months, and the partners can kill it in 40 minutes. You have carry now, a percentage of the profits from deals you help build. It vests over years. It is not a bonus. It is a leash made of money, and it is attached to this firm, and every year you stay, it tightens. You make your case to the partners for a deal they are skeptical about. They ask you to send more research. You spend the night building it. You believe in this company. That is new and specific to this level. It is also the first time being wrong will cost you something that cannot be recovered in a single quarter. Level 6. Managing Director. You are in the boardroom of a company Blackstone owns. You are the Blackstone representative at the table. The CEO finishes a sentence and then looks at you before he finishes his next one. He is not asking for approval. He is checking to see if you agree. That is what a board seat feels like. You source deals from relationships that took a decade to build. You call the banker before the mandate is awarded, because the banker calls you first. You sit on portfolio company boards, and you hold management accountable to the thesis that justified the acquisition. When a revenue line misses, you decide in the room whether to escalate or give another quarter. You vote in investment committee. You greenlight or kill the deals your principals have spent 6 months building. When you enter a room, the room has already prepared for your arrival. All-in compensation is in the millions. Carry from funds you have shepherded for years pays out in amounts that restructure your relationship with money. But the SMD agreement is real. This is now your sole occupation. The firm must approve outside board seats. The firm holds your equity units at its discretion. You built your reputation inside this institution. The institution owns your name. Level 7. Senior Managing Director. You are in the investment committee room. It is sparse. The table is not large. A principal has spent 6 months building the deal in the folder in front of you. You read the summary sheet. You ask one question. The question identifies the risk that 30 people missed across 6 months of work. That is your function here. You set strategy for an entire business unit. You manage the relationships with the sovereign wealth funds and pension giants whose $10 billion commitments determine what the firm can do next. You fly to Abu Dhabi when an LP relationship needs reassurance after a portfolio company disappoints. You fly back and vote on another deal the same week. You recruit MDs. You decide who stops being an MD. When you walk in, people have already anticipated what you are going to ask. Your compensation in a strong year is transformative. Your carry-on funds you built across a decade is generational. Your SMD agreement says you report to the president. Your equity, your compensation, your professional obligations, all subject to the sole discretion of the firm, subject to change at any time. You signed it. You built a career so embedded in this institution that leaving would require dismantling yourself. The investment committee votes. The deal passes. You give no visible reaction. On the way out, you pull the principal aside and tell him the one thing he missed. He writes it down. That is the only praise you give. It is enough. Level 8. Chairman and Chief Executive Officer. You are not in the office. You are in a private meeting room in a government building in a foreign capital. There is no laptop. There is no model. There is a phone and a name, and those are the only tools you need at this altitude. You are deciding which asset classes the firm enters next decade. You are deciding which geographies. You are the relationship at the top of every relationship the firm has. Sovereign wealth funds, heads of state, regulators, the institutional investors who write the checks that move the entire machine. Those conversations happen between two people, and one of them is you. Back in New York, 930 employees work inside a structure you designed. Across the portfolio, 321 companies, 700,000 people, an economy the size of a Fortune 100 employer. All of it downstream from decisions made in rooms like this one. When you enter, rooms do not shift. Rooms are arranged in advance for your arrival. You have $1.2 trillion under management, and your name is the brand, and the brand is the firm, and the firm is publicly traded, which means your departure is a market event. There is no quiet retirement. There is no version of this life that ends with you handing off the keys and walking out. You built a machine so significant that the machine now requires you to keep running, not because you are irreplaceable in any human sense, because you are the signal, and without the signal, the machine produces uncertainty, and uncertainty costs billions. The phone rings. You are already reaching for it. Someone hands you tomorrow's briefing. There are 14 items. This is the view from the top. The walls are magnificent. They have always been walls.